Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another Anonymous Confessions video, and today we're getting into some scary anonymous confessions. It's been a while since I've made a video like this. These are all anonymous confessions sent in by you guys, viewers of the Snook channel. If you'd like to send in a confession for me to react to or just read, please send to the email on screen now. Thank you, and thank you for stopping by and watching today's video. It means the world, and please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know. And alright, without further ado, let's get into some scary anonymous confessions. I almost caused a horrible tragedy while driving drunk. Hi Snook, I've been enjoying these anonymous confessions for a while now, and finally decided it was time to contribute my own. I'll share with you my absolute lowest and most idiotic part of my entire life that nobody knows about. I know drunk driving can be a touchy subject for a lot of people, rightfully so. Pretty much all of us know somebody who was hurt or worse because of drunk driving. You and whoever else is listening may hate me for having done this. That's fine. I genuinely deserve some form of punishment, yet I will never get any. I got away with it. I got incredibly lucky. The collective malice of some anonymous listeners on the internet is better punishment than nothing, I guess. I should apologize, but there has never been anyone to apologize to. So, I'll apologize now to whoever is listening to or reading this. I'm sorry. I'm fucking sorry. There's nothing I can do or say to excuse or justify what I did. So, I'm sorry. This took place quite a few years ago in my early 20s. That was an interesting period of my life filled with a lot of excitement and experimentation. These days, I wouldn't be caught dead doing so much of the stuff that I somehow considered normal. I guess back then, I was a lot more impulsive and still believed I was young and invincible, and was not as concerned about the long-term consequences of my decisions. A lot of the excitement and experimentation of that era was facilitated by the use of drugs and alcohol. I never became addicted to any one thing in particular, but I was often getting intoxicated in some way, shape, or form multiple times a week. If you can name it, I've probably done it. Aside from a variety of the lot more obscure research chemicals and, for YouTube, let's call it the Walter White one. Not because I wouldn't have. The opportunity simply never presented itself, and I didn't feel like putting in the effort to find them. A lot of it was definitely very stupid and irresponsible, and it was a mixed bag of things that had negative and positive impacts on me and my life in general. But I kept my shit together, and did everything I needed to get ahead in life. I guess this is kind of like a mini confession here, as only a handful of people close to me know the extent of how deep I really got into drugs. Nowadays, I work a job that requires a high amount of responsibility and trust, and nobody knows, nor will they ever know. These days, I am pretty much sober, and drugs in general feel like a been there, done that sort of deal, and I usually have a little desire to get intoxicated off of anything, even alcohol. At the end of the day, I don't regret the overwhelming majority of the dumb shit that I did. For me, it was part of the process of growing up and finding myself. I had lots of wonderful experiences I wouldn't trade for anything, and I would do it all over again if I could. However, this confession is one of the few things that I truly regret from the bottom of my heart. If I could go back in time to that point, I would hit myself over the head with a 2x4 and throw my keys into the sewer. I've never told a single person about this. It was just an incomprehensible display of stupidity that occurred and then vanished into the void without any spectators. Back then, I was very much involved in the local music scenes. A lot of us had bands and knew each other and would play with each other and come to each other's shows. This particular night took place at a cool bar with a nice stage that hosts local shows as well as world-famous touring bands. This was a local show, and I knew a lot of the people playing in the bands, and there was also a great turnout from people in the scene. Lots of my friends were there. The music was fucking great. I was just having a great time. Everyone was. The vibes were perfect, so, of course, I was drinking. Why wouldn't I? The venue was about a 30-minute drive from my place, on the other side of the city from the suburb I was living in, but fuck it, right? This show will only happen once, and we're all having a great time now, so I'll just keep on drinking. Inevitably, the show ended, and the bar started getting ready to close. As it was approaching 2 a.m., I said my goodbyes to all my friends and started walking to my car. The reality of the situation started to really hit me. The reality that I was fucking drunk and have a 30-minute drive home through a part of the city I'm not too familiar with. Not sloppy falling over drunk, but pretty fucking drunk, right on the edge of seeing double. My options were ask one of my friends who were literally right there to give me a ride and or a place to crash, get a taxi to take me home or to a cheap hotel, call my parents, call another one of my friends that weren't at the show, or just drive home anyway. Fuck it. The hassle and inconvenience of doing those other things was just too much to deal with, I guess. So I start driving. The ride out of the city and onto the highway was uneventful. As soon as I got into the highway, I set my cruise control to the speed limit so I could focus 100% of my attention to my surroundings and staying in my lane. A few minutes later, I thought it was neat that I had not seen a single other driver on the highway. Nobody in front of me, nobody coming up behind me, and not even anyone on the other side of the road. It was past 2 a.m., so I guess it's not that unusual. So I cranked up my cruise control a little bit, then I cranked it up a little bit more, then some more. Before I knew it, I had set it to 90 miles an hour, and there was still not a single person on the road. If anyone was behind me, there'd be no way for them to catch up to me either. I'd never gone that fast in a car before, and it felt cool. I got this feeling in the pit of my stomach. Excitement. Pure fucking excitement. An adrenaline rush creeping up and seeping throughout my whole body until I started glowing and tingling with pleasure, for reasons that will be forever unknown to me. I, without thinking, slapped the cruise control off and slammed my foot on the gas. Pedal to the fucking metal. I watched the speedometer climb higher and higher. 100. 110. It felt like I was in an airplane getting ready to take off. Everything was whooshing by me so fast. I didn't even feel drunk anymore. I was fucking flying, physically and mentally. I then heard the ding 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 sound from my car that occurs when a notification pops up on the little screen. It said, maximum speed reached. It was a random number like 116 miles an hour. The pedal was still all the way down, yet the car stopped accelerating. My heart was pounding. My body was still tingling. I took maybe 5 to 10 seconds to savor the feeling, and then once I felt like I had my fill, I took my foot off the pedal. Gradually, I coasted back down to 110, 100, 90, 80, and then as soon as I reached the highway speed limit, I popped cruise control back on and was chilling. And my car has a programmed speed limiter. I had no idea. How quaint. And there's still nobody else on the road. And then I started fucking laughing, cackling like a goddamn hyena. And then I drove the rest of the way home and went to bed without a care in the world. When I woke up the next morning, I couldn't believe that happened. I wanted to believe that it was a dream, but no, I actually did that. I actually flew down the highway at 116 miles an hour while drunk as hell. What a fucking stupid thing to do. If there was anyone else on the road in the wrong place at the wrong time, it could have been a disaster. If there was debris in the road that I couldn't avoid, it would have been a disaster. If I had lost control of the vehicle, it would have been a disaster. If there was a cop doing radar, I probably would have gone to prison and had my license revoked indefinitely. So many horrible things could have happened. I could have ended someone's life, along with my own. Realistically, I would have been lucky if I had gotten caught and gotten to prison. Yet somehow, some way, none of that happened. Nothing happened. I just kept going and made it home. Nobody saw it. It's like it never happened. And that's my story. Maybe anticlimactic, but that's a good thing. Is what I did as bad as I think it is? Or am I being dramatic? In my head, that's pretty up there on the list of stupid and irresponsible shit to do. All these years later, it still makes me anxious just thinking about it. The entire thing lasted less than a minute, but the whole trajectory of my life and the lives of others could have changed in an instant because of one stupid, pointless decision. I try not to live with regrets, but I don't think I'll ever truly make peace with myself. Thanks for listening. And before we get into the next one, I'd like to, give some advice or thoughts or whatever. And I just think it's good that you feel guilty for it. And yes, you question, should you even feel guilty? Yes, you should. It was a stupid thing to do. You laid out all the scenarios that could have happened, but you didn't get caught. I think you got extremely lucky that you're not in prison, or you still have your license, or you didn't kill someone, or you didn't, hurt yourself or whatever. That was a very dumb thing to do. But I think it's good that you feel guilty about it, because I assume you've never done something like this again. Some people have an experience like this and then continue to do it more times in their life until they end up killing somebody or their self or go to prison. And so I'm glad this was a learning lesson for you. Even though, like you said, it was a very small moment in your life, it's changed the trajectory of your life. And I think it's changed it in a way that is positive. I wouldn't look at that. Obviously, it was a negative experience, negative decision, all of that. But I think now that it's been a few years, you have to look at it almost like a positive, that you learned something from it. You learned to not do that again or anything similar to that. And I think you just need to take it from that angle and just take it as a learning lesson, because you can feel bad about it all you want, but just make sure from now on you never do something similar to that again. I'm sure you haven't, but I really appreciate you sharing. And yes, that is a horrible thing to do and basically unforgivable. But I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts, everyone watching. And what do you think about my advice? What do you think about his story and his confession? But yeah, those are my thoughts. And I just think it's best to move on, not move on completely, but just treat it like a learning lesson, and just maybe even tell the story to others who struggle with drinking, or, maybe have drunk driven as well. I don't know. Just maybe talk to people around you so you feel less alone with this experience. I think talking to, a therapist, because you said you still feel anxiety about it, you don't want that. That just leads to a degradation of your, happiness in life. So I'd really talk to somebody, whether it's a family, friend, therapist, or whatever. But I appreciate you sharing. And this is, step one in sharing your story. I just think you shouldn't, carry this experience by yourself, because that'll only eat at you. And like I said, thank you so much for sharing. On to the next one. Confession. I faked my own death. Hi, Snook. I don't know why I'm writing this. Maybe because I wish I hadn't done it. Maybe because the guilt makes me wish I really had died. The main person I hurt already knows the details, but I wasn't expecting the effects to ripple the way they have. This one is kind of long, and for that, I'm very sorry. Essentially, there was this guy I met online. We met over video games on a popular console. A stupid thing, honestly. At the time, I had a boyfriend who I was going through a rough patch with, and my boyfriend didn't handle emotions well, so when I lost my estranged dad and had a miscarriage in the same month, I vented to this internet guy. We'll call him Ambrose. I was mourning two people I'd never get to know at the same time, and Ambrose was the thing holding me together. Except, Ambrose began stalking me. Like a dark romance come to life. He hacked my phone, would join and leave voice calls having hacked it, not to ping when he did, and always knew where I was and who I was gaming with, even when I was hidden offline. I couldn't remove him as a friend. I tried, but he always came back on my friends list the next day. My accounts were secured and security info updated. I didn't realize how far he had his hooks in until my relationship fell apart. And by that point, I'd already fallen in love with Ambrose. But he was toxic. Never too much, but always gaslighting just a little. Silent treatments were the worst. I tried ending things with him, but he was, as addictive as ambrosia. I couldn't stay away. And after months of this cycle, I decided the only way out was to fake my death. I had a friend help me. I asked him to shoot Ambrose a message saying I'd ended myself. But he took it too far. He made a fake obituary on one of those free websites, even created comments pretending to be people from my real life. He had always hated Ambrose and wanted to do as much damage as possible. They even texted him periodically, asking how he was handling it all, while I sat oblivious. Any social I thought was compromised, I deactivated. I went nearly fully dark. After a few months of being dead, I got drunk and texted Ambrose. I missed him. When he told me he thought I was gone, I lied. I told him it was all my friend's idea, pretended I didn't know. I may not have known everything, but I knew enough. I kept up the story that it was entirely on the friend who hated him, and eventually, we got back together. I even flew out to meet him, because online relationships can only go so far. And while I was there, in his arms, finally making our relationship official, on the last day of my trip, I broke down. I confessed it all. Please don't judge me too harshly for the online relationship part. I know the internet can be cruel. In my opinion, it's only cringe if it doesn't work. I only need to state this, not as an excuse, but as an explanation. I was later diagnosed as having been in psychosis through the whole thing. Shortly after faking my death, I got back together with my abuser, convinced he was the Messiah. It was a dark, incoherent time in my life. I blew $10K in a month, so please try not to judge my actions too harshly. Ambrose knows the full truth, but some of his friends don't realize that his ex who passed on and his current girlfriend are the same person. Perks of being online, I guess. People don't recognize voices as well as faces. I've been to therapy since then, months both outpatiented in the hospital. As for Ambrose, so is he. He's been medicated and in therapy to cope with his issues, though his diagnoses are not mine to share. Honestly, I think losing me that way forced him to realize what he had and maybe grow into a better man. We've done couples counseling, worked on communication, any information he wanted to take, he could have just asked. Anyway, thank you. Putting this out there helps lessen the weight on me, and maybe it'll help someone else going through mental illness get help sooner rather than later. I borrowed over $1,000 worth of merchandise during lockdown. Hello, Snook. To start, I would like to say thank you for giving us an outlet for those who either can't publicly voice our confessions or for those who don't have anyone to talk to. If need be, feel free to edit this confession to fit YouTube's guidelines. To put it bluntly, during 2020 through 2022, I have stolen over $1,000 worth of merchandise. I was 15 years old when the country issued a nationwide lockdown due to the pandemic. I was cooped up in the house all day. I had no job and no car, so I couldn't go somewhere to entertain myself. I ended up extremely bored. I didn't know what to do with myself. Because of this, I started stealing. Stealing became somewhat popularized on TikTok, and I would get recommended videos called borrowing hauls, which were hauls that people made of things they stole. I would get tutorial videos on how to steal, and the idea immediately hooked me. My parents knew how bored I was, so they would drive me to the mall, or they would let a friend drive me. The first time I stole was exhilarating. I brought a tote bag to a Barnes & Noble, and I stole 7 books with a friend I brought with me. Ever since then, whenever I would get out of the house, I would steal something. Anything. I would set records for myself and try to beat the amount of things I stole in one day. I would dress to go steal, thick cargo pants with multiple pockets, and a thick baggy jacket with inside pockets. I would bring a thick tote bag with me, and I would line it with tinfoil, in case any of the items had tags/sensors on it. If I put an item in the tote, once leaving the store, the alarm wouldn't go off since the tinfoil disrupted the signal to the alarms. My favorite things to steal were books, and the most amount of books I stole in a day was 25 books. I would hide merchandise in my pants, jacket, and my tote bag, and even in my underwear sometimes. This was also during the mask mandate, and masks were required to enter the store. This is what got me addicted to stealing. If I was caught stealing on the cameras, no one would be able to identify me because I'd be wearing a mask and either sunglasses or a large bucket hat, so no one would be able to see my face. I also got a few other friends to steal with me. We would plan the stores and go out, and we would dress for the occasion, and then we'd go into the bathroom/our car to see the things we stole. You're probably wondering about my financial status to see if it was tied into my shoplifting addiction. It didn't. According to many of my friends, my family is rich. We go on at least 2 vacations a year. We always have the newest electronics. We live in the richest neighborhood in our town/surrounding towns. And overall, we can afford to just throw money around. Money was never an issue for my family. If I wanted to pay for all the things I stole, I would have absolutely no problem doing so. My dad would always pay for my family's shopping sprees, but that's not fun. Paying for things wasn't fun. I love the feeling that stealing gave me, and coming home with the things I stole gave me a sense of pride. That I deserved the things I stole because I, quote, put effort into it. 3 years ago, if you were to hand me $500 and tell me to buy whatever I wanted, I would come back with a ton of stolen merchandise and hand back the $500 because paying for things wasn't fun. Scoping the store, finding the camera's blind spots, going into an area of the store with no people before slipping things into my clothes/bag and leaving the store was fun. And no, I never ever stole from a small/family-owned business. I would only steal from chains. I have a little over 130 books in my collection, and at least half of those books were stolen. Every time I enter/exit my room, I pass by my bookshelf, and I remember what 15 through 17-year-old me did. I don't feel bad in the slightest for what I did, but I probably won't ever steal again. Mostly because masks are no longer mandatory, and that I'm now a legal adult. I know what I did was objectively and legally wrong, but I don't care. I've told some of my closest friends about what I was doing during lockdown, and instead of lecturing me and saying that I'm in the wrong, they all say how impressive that is. But I want an unbiased opinion. Thank you for reading this, and for all that you do for us. Thank you for sharing, and time for my opinion and just my thoughts. I do think you should feel bad because even though, they're from big chains and not small or family-owned businesses, it still hurts someone. I don't know who. It could be the authors of the books. It could be the employee. They could have, they could realize at the end of the month, they're like, oh, well, we are missing a lot of inventory and you are going to take a pay cut or something of the sort. I don't know. Even though there was a chain, it could still affect the authors, the people working there, or whatever. I don't know what else you stole, but that was kind of the main thing you outlined, just books. And I also think you should feel bad for it, like I said. And also, you said you don't like buying things with money because it doesn't give you that exhilaration because, you didn't earn it. I think you put that in quotes. I think, I don't know if you did or do have a job, but getting a job and working for your money will make it feel like you worked for those items, And so, having things handed to you all the time, especially money, will that kind of makes sense why it's boring, I guess, but work a job. And so it feels like the things you're buying are the result of your work. It's pretty simple, but, I don't think your legal age or the lack of masks should be the only reason you're not stealing. Stealing is objectively bad. And sooner or later, it's going to catch up to you. I don't know if you believe in karma or whatever, but I just think you maybe should talk to somebody about this, and because maybe it'll kind of resurface and the old habits will come back, and maybe you'll be like, oh, well, I'll be fine. I don't need the mask anyway. And maybe you'll be like, oh, well, I'm not going to get caught. I think it's better to nip it in the bud, and I think you should care because I think you probably affected somebody. You don't know who. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you didn't affect anybody, but somebody was affected, at least I think. And those are my thoughts. Maybe a little bit more negative. I appreciate the kind words, but those are kind of my honest thoughts. I just think, stealing's bad, no matter what. And everyone watching, please leave down your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd like to see if you agree with me and everything I'm saying, or you disagree, or what you think about her story, or whatever. But thank you so much for sharing, and on to the next one. I can't control my hatred for the opposite gender. Hey Snook, I hope you and the viewers are doing well, and I really appreciate the work you are doing. You're changing lives. And yeah, you'll have to excuse my English as it is not my native language, and I'm also typing this on my phone, so feel free to correct any typos or any grammatical errors. And yeah, that's that. Now on to the story. Yeah, I know. Wild title. And I'm aware this will sound silly and stupid to most people, but the environment that I grew up in is not the best, and people here are just disgustingly degenerate, mostly girls. And I don't mean to sound mean towards the opposite gender, as I have female friends that I love and female family members that mean a lot to me, but this hatred stems from the things I've seen happen, and some have happened to myself. I would like to clarify that I'm not the outgoing type of person, so I miss out on a lot of things, such as clubs and basically anything that involves teenage shenanigans, but I'm also not introverted, so I'm somewhere in the middle, and I'm cursed to have extroverted friends who love to socialize. LOL, I love them regardless. So one night, me and my two friends went out for a drink, and obviously, they had to drag me out of my house for this. We're teenagers, by the way. I feel like I have to clarify this, as it is normal for teens at the age of 14 to start drinking. It's not legal, but it's normalized. During this period, I was dating this one girl from my class. Looking back, I feel as if I loved her way too much, and the feeling was not mutual. And on that same night, I went to take a piss, and just to get away from people, and I unfortunately walked in her in the men's bathroom with someone who's probably twice her age doing the deed. And this was not my first breakup, but damn, that hit like a train. From that moment, I realized a lot of things that I, for some reason, took for granted. Like how she had the latest iPhone, her nails were painted every weekend, and that she was always going out on expensive trips, but that's on me for not noticing earlier. But this changed me, and I now view women differently, and I know that it is wrong to judge or shame an entire gender because of one girl who wronged me, but I can't help it. I'm aware I need some sort of help as my mental health is not the best. There's more to this story, but I fear that this might be too long of a story. And I struggle keeping relationships now, and I get kind of jealous seeing my friends in serious romantic relationships. And to make things worse, I'm disgusted by any female interaction. And to clarify, I'm not gay or anything. I'm attracted to girls and take part in casual relationships, but the thought of having a long-term partner just turns me off. There's this time I deadass vomited just because one of my friends brought over girls, and I just couldn't stand their voices and how they speak highly of themselves, and there's dudes who are head over heels for them, and I literally vomited on the spot as one of them said that. I'm scared. Something is wrong with me. And I'd feel better knowing that I'm not the only one experiencing this. Do I need medical help? Am I gay? Is something wrong with me? Thing is, I'm sort of attractive and I attract a decent number of girls, but I hate myself for that. Please tell me I'm not the only one who's experiencing this. But yeah, I know this confession was all over the place and probably didn't make much sense, but I just had to get it out. And I'd appreciate any help or advice from you and the viewers on what to do or improve on. There's obviously more to the story, but I'm sure you get the point. And yeah, if this makes it into a video, I'd like to say hello to everyone and hope you are doing well and wish a good day to you all. And thank you, Snook. Thank you so much for sharing, man. And yeah, I'll try to give my thoughts and advice the best I can. But first off, don't hate the opposite gender just because of the one girl. There's a lot of bad girls out there for sure, but there's also a lot of great ones. I mean, think about how many like boys you know. You don't like all of them. Some of them are assholes. Some of them are nice. Some of them, you know, suck. Some of them are great. It's the same thing with girls. Not all girls are like that. Not at all. And maybe the girls your friends are bringing over, they just, you know, aren't your type. You don't like them. That's fine. You don't need to like every girl. But it just will take time to find someone you like or really bond with, I think. And that relationship that ended poorly, that really does suck. I can't lie. I can't imagine going through that. And yeah, that must have hit like a train, like you said. But I really think just give it time. You don't need to force yourself into a relationship just because, you know, your friends are in a relationship or you want to be in a relationship or something like that. So don't force it. It'll come naturally. And I think it'll just take time to kind of internalize what the girl did to you and kind of just, you know, process it all, because that's a lot to process. And so I think it'll really just take time to process that, since that's a, you know, a big situation that happened and a horrible mishap. But I don't think you should hate the other gender. I don't think you have medical things that need help. You're fine, man. You're fine. And you said you're, you know, mid-teenager. It's normal. You're going to, you know, think you hate girls, think you love them, but it's just going to take time and you're going to find somebody. And and you don't need to hop into a serious relationship right away. Like I said, it'll take time to find the right person. Don't rush it. And also you don't need to be in a relationship just because all your other friends are in relationships. I know I said that, but yeah, you're fine, man. That's up to you if you're gay, but from what you outlined, I don't think you are. Yeah, dude, you're fine. Just time will sort it out. Just keep focusing on yourself, focus on school, focus on work, or focus on friends. And then one day the right chick or right girl will, you know, enter your life. And hopefully you can have a great relationship with her. But for the time being, don't think you hate girls just because of that one girl. Like I said, not all girls are like that. Promise. And you got this, man. Thank you so much for sharing. And on to the next one. I scammed 100,000 Robux, $1,000 USD, from someone within the span of 10 minutes when I was 11. I grew up in a poor lifestyle. My parents were always good to me, mostly my dad, and they taught me right from wrong. When I was 1, my parents split but still maintain a co-parenting relationship. At my dad's house, there was order, obedience, and support. At my mom's house, she'd always be sleeping because of night shifts, so I had a lot more freedoms there. Also meaning I get a computer with unrestricted access to the internet. As soon as I found the real web, I was fixated on it and didn't like how I had no money to spend in the real world. So I did the thing my instinct told me to: find a way to con innocent kids on Roblox. I started by making games on Roblox for free Robux. This is a patched method now because Roblox catches on to scams pretty quickly. But what you would have to do is set up a webhook on Discord, get someone to join the game, and type in their password and user. By doing so, the game snatches their cookie. Having a cookie means having full access to their account. Anyways, I tried some GFX method on a rich kid on Roblox, if you know you know, and stole a limited item worth 100,000 Robux. I cleaned the limited using a few accounts on Roblox, then sold it off. Roblox always taxes 30%, so I only got 70k, which is around $700 USD. It's hard to convert because I use AUD, Australian dollar. I never felt bad because I honestly think the kid deserved it, but I still have the $49,000 in Robux in a spread of different accounts. I spent a lot of Robux, but it's been 5 years. Confession. I think my psychiatrist wants me dead. Hey Snook, I really like your videos and watch them a lot, especially all the confession videos. I don't know if you're going to read this and debate it if I should send this or not, but I just need to get this off my chest. The story is a bit dark, but yeah, feel free to censor it if you post it. I feel like my psychiatrist wants me to commit S-word. He has been acting weirdly around me, especially during appointments without my mother. He tried switching my therapist after I told him that I can trust my current therapist and talk to him honestly. The first thing he told me in the appointment 8 days after my S-word attempt was to stop the drama and stop acting like a 5-year-old, even though I wasn't. He canceled my future therapy appointments after I tried to cut my finger off and had to get it stitched. He just brushed it aside after I said I'm not sure if I can keep myself safe. There are a few more examples, but I don't want to make this confession too long. The thing that completely convinced me that he wants me to die was after I told him I couldn't keep myself safe if he tried to put me in a psych ward against my consent, and he told me he will have an appointment with the psych ward in a week. The same appointment got delayed for no reason the week after. I already told my mother that I think he wants me to die, but she doesn't believe me and called me insane. I don't even know if my psychiatrist believes me that I struggle. Sometimes I think about cutting my finger off and eating it just to prove my struggle, but I'm not sure if he would even care. Anyways, that's my confession. I wanted to apologize for my grammar since I'm not a native speaker, and if this gets posted, I hope you're all doing good and having a nice day. I care about you. Confession. I want my father to die. I'll start this off by saying that my parents have been terrible throughout my life. They were addicts, alcoholics, and my dad was a drug dealer for the early years of my life. My dad was abusive. My mother cheated on him when I was 4, and quite honestly, I can't even blame her. Sure, I don't condone cheating, but my dad was such a horrific person, not just a horrible parent. He always shouted at us that the very few memories I have of my childhood are all without my dad. Anyway, I want my father to die. That's what I said, and I'll explain it a little more. Right now, I'm 19. My father isn't so abusive anymore, but I still hate him. I hate the way he treated me, hate the way he seemed to hate me. I've thought about killing him before, and I mean seriously killing him. I've fantasized about it before, even, and that makes me feel like a bad person, but he deserves it. Thank you for reading this. Thank you for taking your time to respond, and keep up the good work. Thank you for sharing, and just to leave some of my thoughts and I guess advice on this one, I really think you should, distance yourself from your father the best you can. I don't know your living situation, but if you can, start saving money, and hopefully you can move out sometime soon, but it seems like you're in a bad spot relatively. And I just, having thoughts about killing him, no, that's not good. Please talk to somebody, whether that's your mom, your parents, your brother, your sister, your whatever. Talk to them and ask for help on how to, move away from the situation. But thinking about, doing such harmful things, even though, he may have harmed you, isn't the correct course of action. An eye for an eye is not the correct, or not the correct analogy, but just not the correct way to go about this. So please consider that and consider everything I said. And everyone watching, please leave some feedback and comments down below about your opinion on this story and what you think she should do. Anyways, thank you so much for sending. On to the next one. Confession. I'm losing hope and want to die. Hey Snook, I'm not a longtime viewer of yours. In fact, I've only discovered your channel pretty recently. However, watching your videos has always left me astounded. I could definitely see how much work and time goes into this, and I definitely admire you for it. My confession is simple. I am extremely depressed and am losing hope that things will get better. I still live with my father, who is a covert narcissist, the type who always goes out of his way to impress his friends, financially and such, while his family suffers. He has isolated us from everyone, is financially irresponsible and abusive, and is verbally, emotionally, and sometimes even physically abusive. I have never been allowed to work, which has been a major issue, as now that I try to apply for remote jobs, I am constantly rejected as I have no experience. I've been riddled with debt, to which I have no income to pay it off, nor could I since my father is in control of the finances and usually spends it all. We live under the not best conditions, and it's caused health issues for my siblings. I'm tired. All I want is to get away from my father and give my siblings a good life. But I'm tired of holding on to hope that things will get better. I want to die, but can't because I don't want to leave my siblings at his mercy. Plus, if I fail, that's even more debt I'd be saddled with. Watching your siblings almost die due to the conditions of the house we've lived in has taken a toll on me. I tried everything, reached out to so many organizations, but haven't received help. I truly don't know what to do or how to continue on like this. I guess this is my confession. I'm sorry if it seems like I was rambling. Thank you for listening and providing a space for me to get some of this out. I lie a lot. Hey Snook, I've heard your anonymous confession videos and it really helps a lot. So I figured maybe I should also send in one. You can refer to me as S since I wouldn't want any of my friends knowing about this because they listen to you as well. So I don't know why, but I have this lying habit that I can't stop even if I want. And I know you might be thinking that, how severe can it really be? And trust me, I spent 3 years making my best friend believe that I'm dating someone even though I'm not. It was mostly because I didn't want to feel alone and teased for, since all of my friends had boyfriends. I also remember what I could easily lie if I felt threatened by a situation. Like the most recent lie I made was about getting into a gov college even though I haven't. And I even lied so easily about my marks in the coaching classes just to feel better and superior about myself. I know this doesn't sound horrible, but this habit keeps on getting worse and I just can't stop lying. I faked and edited out my marks of a national exam just so I could be safe from my parents' scoldings. I really want to know how I can make it better. I really, really don't want to lie like this. Thank you. And thank you so much for sending this in. And I'm going to give some feedback that, I've left on a lot of previous videos. I think you just take it a day at a time. Just be like, today, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to try my best not to lie. You don't need to be perfect, but just tone it down. Keep it in mind. And just be like, okay, today, I'm going to try my best to not lie. And then you go through your day and see how you did. Hopefully you did a little bit better. You caught yourself with thoughts of lying on, silly things or cheating or whatever you outlined. And, don't say I'm never going to lie again, because that's really, it's hard to keep in mind and it's hard to fathom. And it's like, oh, well, it's too big. I'm not going to even try. But I think if you try it a day at a time to not lie, or at least to be mindful about your lying, then you can easily or more easily, get out of that bad habit, because it is a habit. Totally. Lying is a habit. And even when it's super minor stuff, you'll lie just for who knows why. I've done it. I'm sure a lot of people watching have done it. It's a weird habit to pick up. And I just think it's best to, take it a day at a time and just each day try your best to not lie. And if you catch yourself lying, maybe apologize to the person you're talking to or something of the sort. and move on. And so then it kind of, really breaks that habit or the best you can. I hope this, advice makes sense. I don't know if this will apply to you or this will resonate with you, but I hope it does. And thank you so much for sending in your confession, and on to the next one. Hey there, just found your channel and I love what you do. It is refreshing that there is someone like you who cares for people and that you give them an outlet to get trouble off their chests. And to that, I thank you. I'm a 28 female and life is good. I am married, have a lovely home and pets, a stable job. What more can a girl ask for, right? Unfortunately, I had a traumatic childhood with neglectful parents. I am diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety, leading to OCD as well. And the OCD is painful. Fear of contamination, obsessive intrusive thoughts, checking things multiple times, obsessive cleaning. It makes my life an absolute hell. Back when I was about 21 through 22, I took LSD a few times. First time, awesome. The second time, however, flipped my world upside down. I had a crazy bad trip that distorted my reality so bad, and it took years for me to feel normal again. But I wouldn't be here if I said I was completely fine now. I have the same issues with weed, greening out immediately, and my heart feeling like it's going to explode. Haven't touched either in years. Don't do drugs, kids, especially if you have anxiety or OCD, LOL. Over the years, I've been terrified of potential exposure and suffering from a bad trip again. It was the most terrifying experience of my life, and I've been through some rough scenarios. And my panic attacks stimulate it. When people would smoke around me, I would cover my mouth and nose with a shirt or blanket. If my husband, LSD user, were to take acid, I am deathly afraid of him kissing me. And a month or so ago, I had to set a boundary with my husband, also an active weed smoker, that he can't smoke anywhere in-house besides his office with the door shut. I'm very lucky the people in my life understand my fear and accommodate to my boundaries. Today, I did something upsetting to me. My husband came home late from performing as a show last night. As I slept, he made me lunch for work today. When I woke up, I noticed that him and our friend were awake and were tripping. I asked him if he prepared the lunch before or after he handled the acid. He said before. Up until lunchtime, I told myself I was going to eat the lunch, but I noped out last minute and threw it away. I feel so bad for doing what I did. Unless I am at a restaurant, I get so sketched out if I don't prepare food myself or if I don't watch someone make the food. My husband did a really nice thing for me and I threw it out, thinking there was LSD on a damn sandwich. Ugh. Thank you for listening to my nonsense. I hope you are well. Keep doing what you do. And I'm going to definitely, leave some feedback and advice and just comments on this story or this confession, and I totally understand it. I have a lot of friends, I have family that deals with OCD as well. And it's, people think OCD is like, oh, well, you have to have the, pencils on your desk in a correct order or whatever. It's totally not. OCD can ruin your life because it just makes your thoughts go against you. It makes the world feel like it's against you. It's a horrible thing, and it really is, and you outline that perfectly here. And your fear of LSD and weed are completely understandable because everyone watching, if you have any sort of anxiety or OCD, do not smoke weed or do not do other sort of, drugs. It's just not a good mix. And a lot of people don't outline that. I'm not anti, drug or whatever, but if you even have a slight tinge of it, it would be really worth talking to a psychiatrist or something before you go and pursue those substances. That's just my advice. You don't need to take it, but from people I've known who have had OCD and, smoked weed or done LSD, just like this story, ended up having horrible after effects with their mental health. And so it really is something, that shouldn't be played around with. And I don't think you should feel bad. I mean, OCD can make you think some crazy things. And yes, your husband did a great thing for you, but, I would have thought the same thing too. I totally understand where you're coming from, but on to how to, fix this maybe. I really think some, exercises. I don't know if there's exercises online for OCD and how to kind of break those thoughts, because I know OCD in particular is repeating thoughts that kind of reaffirm themselves. And you need something to break that cycle. And so maybe you can find something online to help, gain a thought or think a different way and break that cycle, or you talk to a therapist and you can get some sort of help with that. I know I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's certain trainings they can do that can really help alleviate that fear. Even though it's a totally justified fear, it can just make your life a little bit easier to live, I guess. But I really appreciate you sharing, and I had a lot to say about this, but it was just kind of relatable to me because I have a lot of people in my life that suffer from something similar, and it's just nothing to be joked around with. And so even though, I wouldn't even consider this a confession really, I really appreciate you sharing this. On to the next one. Hey Snook, I came across your channel just recently and decided I need to get this off my chest. Around 4 years ago, one of my best friends got kicked out of his house and he came to live with my dad and I. He was troubled and was a heavy user of substances. While he was at my house, he was doing better, and things were looking up. However, my dad was getting tired of him not paying for rent or groceries for the house and wanted him out. My dad made me tell him that he had to leave, which I did. My friend didn't take this lightly at first, but understood afterwards. He thanked me for housing him for the few months he was with us and left without another word. Around 2 weeks later, we got the news that he had passed away from an overdose, and now it lives in the back of my mind that it was my fault he is gone. I've been in therapy because of this, but it isn't helping at all. The guilt is too much. Thank you for sharing this. And, even though this was kind of a short confession, relatively, I don't have a lot of information to go off of. I really don't think this was your fault. I don't know what that guy was going through. It seems like he was going through a rough patch and was a user of substances. I really don't think this was your fault at all. Please don't think that because, he was using before, using after. Things can happen. Accidents happen. An overdose can happen. Horrible. But I really don't think you should be blaming yourself. That's great you're seeing a therapist, but hopefully me saying it or people in the comments saying it's not your fault will help you out a little bit. But I really don't think it's your fault because, you can't house him forever. It's not your job. It's not your place to be his house forever, buying him groceries and his rent free. That's not your place. And a few weeks after you said it happened, this wasn't your fault. Anything could have happened between the time he left your house and the time he overdosed. It's a horrible thing, and I feel horrible for you because it's just a terrible situation. But I really don't think you should be blaming yourself. It'll be okay. Keep going to therapy, and keep going, man. On to the next one. I have severe dental trauma, which is dripping into S-word thoughts and ideation, and every day I get closer to giving into them. I nearly bled to death 4 days after a botched dental surgery when I was 18. It was 10 hours straight of bleeding into a pink hospital bucket, ambulance rides, injections, panicking doctors, seizures, and panicked looks of my family's faces. I was wheeled into emergency surgery to cauterize the artery in my jaw late at night, and I woke up a few days later hooked up receiving blood transfusions. The surgeons told me they found 10 shattered tooth fragments in that single socket, continuously cutting an artery. When I woke up from surgery in the recovery room, I was devastated that I didn't just die in surgery because I knew I'd have to deal with that for years. I avoided the dentist for years, absolutely embarrassed of myself for being the age that I am and being deathly afraid of something that most people get over when they're 10. Yes, I have my reasons for that fear, but the embarrassment never went away. Every time I go to the dentist now, 7 years later, I can't breathe, I sob, I panic, I'm shaking, I need to bring in a stuffed animal, blanket, headphones, an eye mask, and extra Xanax pills just to get through half of a typical cleaning. I always apologize to the hygienist for taking up their time and being the difficult patient because it's absolutely humiliating. I end up having to make 2 cleaning appointments, top set, then bottom set, because I just can't handle it all at once. Whenever I leave the office after a cleaning, I go home and cry myself to sleep. I cry because I'm embarrassed, exhausted, traumatized, and furious about the whole thing. I'm mad at the whole world, including myself. I'm mad at the world because why didn't it just let me die? I'm mad at myself because why can't I just get over it already? I shouldn't be violently shaking in a dentist chair. I shouldn't want to commit S-word after each cleaning. I'm exhausted. It's embarrassing. I'm just done. And all right, I really think your reaction is justified. That's a horrible experience you went through after a botched dental surgery, like you said. That's horrible. I can't imagine going through that. And anybody that has gone through something like that or something similar probably feels the same. Having almost a death, a horrible experience. I mean, the artery bleeding out and you die. That was very possible, and that's terrifying because of the dentist. And so it's a reasonable fear. And you said most people get over it at the age of 10. Well, most people don't have a, life-altering surgery or life-ending surgery from the dentist. And so I totally understand why you act that way, but I don't think it should lead to wanting to commit S-word at all. I really think you should talk to somebody, maybe get some exposure therapy, I think is what it's called. So then you can get, continuously a little bit less afraid of the doctor or the dentist, sorry. And so it will probably never be perfect, but it'll be better. And I can't imagine you go to the dentist all the time. I go to the dentist a few times a year, I think, but I don't think, this needs to create such a horrible mark on your life. I really think you should talk to somebody, talk to a therapist, and you'll get it sorted out. It'll be all right, but thank you so much for sharing. And that will wrap up today's video. Some scary, anonymous confessions. I really appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video. Would you like to see more anonymous confessions videos in the future? I love reading your guys' confessions and giving some advice because, a lot of people need a place to get something off their chest anonymously, even though this is in front of thousands and thousands of people. I think it's good to, get it off your chest. And I really hope I can continue to have this safe space and you guys keep watching. Please comment down below and let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. It means the world. And please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It supports me, lets me keep making videos like this. Thank you guys for watching. Check out some other videos on the channel. And this was Snook, and I'll see you next time. Bye.